So I've started to play a little bit of sand down the diff. Started with just remains of a polycarbide disc that I already had. That's obviously nearly done. But that was doing all right, but not brilliant. You can see even up here there's bits of diff. But now we've started on the grinder, a big kind of grinding disc, quite thick, really thick grinding disc. Never used one of these before, but that is really starting to get the job done quite nicely on these bits. So if you see these raised bits here where it's rusted quite badly, gone through quite a few layers, laminate layers of rust down here. So there's some bits that are, you know, all right, pretty good. I mean, it's a very big, thick piece of metal, but there are quite a lot of bits that are very rough looking. So we want to smooth all this flat before we can kind of paint it. I've protected the, well, into where the drive shafts go in. Don't know what you call these things exactly, to try and make it all right. There is a little bit of noise. Not sure how good that feels, but we'll continue with this anyway, and then I'll find out a bit more about that later. So we'll continue cleaning this up. So it is looking quite a bit better now. You can see there's some awkward bits in this corner. They're very hard to grind, so I've still got my mask on because of all the dust. These corners, very difficult to kind of grind out, and that's where there's a lot of muck, so I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. But generally looking a lot better. Let's do there as well. And then obviously a bit of finishing with the drill or the wire brushes or whatever should come up pretty well. reason I've detached the audio from this and you can't hear anything is because I accidentally recorded some of my music that was playing in the background in the garage, and obviously that creates a bit of a copyright claim, as you would imagine, as it should do really. So I just thought I'd voice over a tiny bit of this. This is me getting these shafts out of the diff just to enable me to clean up around the edge, which you'll see a bit later. They quite easily come out. There's not a lot of force going into this. It's just a little bit of light tapping with the pry bar just to push them out. And they both came out easy, both sides, and they both go back in easy as well. So quite a straightforward part of it, really. Don't be too afraid of this if you're doing your own. So I'm quite happy with what's happened with this diff so far. I know I've probably got a very dirty face right now, and that's because cleaning dirty stuff, especially with a mask on and all that kind of stuff, is dirty work. But still, from what it started as, this is looking pretty good, I would say. We've seen that I've pried off these things, kind of cleaned around the edge there, made sure I put a rubber glove in to protect it. Just kind of clean the aluminium off a bit, clean most of the rust off the top of this with the grinder. The underneath still needs a bit of work. It's still not perfect, and there are still some particular areas of rust that I'm not very happy with, which I'll show you either now or I've already showed you. And so it's getting there. I think the next step, I think man versus Diff has won this time, but I think next step is to take Ian up on his offer of using this needle gun to get right in the edges of this rust that's left, and then once all that's done, I'm hoping this will be pretty much ready to go. I'll probably take these tags off because they're really annoying and they get in the way of cleaning, and then we'll give it a really good paint and hope that it's still a good diff. I suppose that's the other thing. After all of this, if it was a bum diff, that would be quite disappointing. But it's better than spending, I don't know, 500-600 quid on a used diff and then it'd still look messy and I'd still want to clean it, because after all, the chassis is looking pretty good. And as we put everything back on, I want everything to be pretty spiffy. All right, cool. So to finish off Rob versus Diff, the gearbox here came back from Gran Tura. So he had it up there because obviously after 100,000 miles probably is a good idea to service it, especially when I kind of hung it off the back of the engine in a failure when I was taking apart the car. You remember there was a little bit of play in this, and we thought it would be all right, but now there's no play, zero play, it's all gone. And he ground back this bit that we don't need on the Tuscan anyway. So that's in good shape. Again, I want to clean up the aluminium cover, maybe paint it, but probably not, just clean it up before it goes back in. But also at the same time, the diff went there because he said 100,000 mile diff probably also needs a significant kind of service. So I took it to him, and into the bargain he also paints the steel. So obviously you saw me taking all the rust off, but now he's done all the painting and that kind of stuff. I just need to refit the side plates and fill it with oil, like it says there on the tag. But you'll remember there was a little bit of a noise on this when you turned it. Nothing, smooth as silk. So pretty happy about that. So that probably concludes our diff work, apart from those brackets, which I'm going to get kind of stripped and do some coating on them. So there you go, Rob versus Diff complete with a lot of help from Gran Tura. But that's probably the way it should be.